I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to learn from people and make your life easier, because I really believe that there's going to be times in your life where you don't need to figure it out on your own. Like this whole idea of figuring it out on your own, it's like you don't need to really do that anymore. It's like you can just kind of drop that whole idea sometimes, and it depends on the moment. Like I'm not saying there's not going to be times to go within yourself and to learn a little bit more and to not be so focused on the outside and what people are telling you, right? Because you need to take what people are telling you, take that information and then digest it and process it and come up with your own beliefs. Come up with your own belief systems and perspectives and the ways of thinking that you want to have, right? But there's also a time and place to say, you know what, I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to be a little bit more humble. Excuse me. I'm going to be a little bit more humble, and I'm going to take all that, take that whole perspective of, oh, I'm just going to figure it out on my own, and just drop that and just ask people for help. And so the first thing I want to share with you in this video is to understand that what you can do, for me, that I found so useful, is to learn from other people's pain, and their trauma and the mistakes that they had in their life, so that you do not have to repeat those same mistakes. And that sounds so cliche, but it's like, really think about this. If somebody, especially if we're talking about something that's vision oriented and maybe creating some type of goal or a specific type of result, like there was any type of pain or, God forbid, any type of trauma, or really maybe any mistakes, or let's just say, God forbid, again, a terrible mistake. If any of these type of things happen on their way to them creating that vision, why would you not want to learn from that type of situation so that you don't have to create it, right? If you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to do it by myself, you're just going to be like, you can skip the learning curve, right? You can actually do this. I think that skipping the learning curve is very possible. I'm not saying that there's shortcuts in life. I'm not saying that things are just going to happen for you with no effort. Like, it's not going to happen. You need to put effort in to get a result, right? Effort, like people think like, oh, I'm just not going to put effort in, and it's not. Like you can, like, you know what? Effortless action is a possibility. I really believe that that's a possibility. But how do you, like, if effortless action existed, how would you get there? I think that you would get there through high levels of discipline, high levels of, what people could call excellence. But what is excellence? Excellence to me is commitment and devotion and high levels of discipline and consistency for a long enough period of time. And it's not always about how intense you are. I learned this, watching a video that I heard from somewhere, is like, it's not just about putting in intensity all the time. Intensity is great. Other times it's about consistency over a long period of time. And that's so powerful to me, because if you can put in consistency over a long period of time, you'll learn all those mistakes, and you'll probably have some, even, God forbid, terrible mistakes, and you'll learn from those. And imagine why would you not want to communicate those to other people that are starting off the journey in whatever area that you're talking about? So the question is, why create unnecessary suffering for yourself and in your experience, if you know that simply communicating to another individual can solve that entire problem and not lead you to be in a state of suffering and be in a state of dis-ease? There's not going to be really a reason to let that situation play out like that, because you don't need it to happen like that. You can reframe the whole situation and say that, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility for my own beliefs, but at the same time, I'm going to be humbled enough to talk to the individuals that have already created what they wanted and have already went through some type of pain. Like, ask them, what was the most difficult things that you've experienced on the journey to creating this, and learn from that, right? And then don't, be the best version of yourself that will allow you to either move through those same mistakes in an easier way or not even make them at all. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is to remember this perspective that, for me, this is really powerful, is to remember that you never got to where you are by doing things alone. That never actually happened, right? There's so many things in your life where you were given information from the outside. The outside gave you information, right? Yes, like I said, I'm not saying there wasn't times where you took that time to process it and you had to go within yourself to be alone. But it's like, I want you to consider how much of life, to honor that part of you that's not you, that is outside of you, to really honor that, to honor that there's so many things outside of you that are coming in your experience and that have supported you, and it's going to be so much easier. Maybe it's possible to do some things like, for example, building a house in a big structure, a big house, for example. You could probably do that alone, maybe not, I don't know. But why would you, right? Wouldn't it be so much easier? And isn't that why you have why building a house requires, it's like a multi-man project, like a big skyscraper, like a big apartment building. That you can't do that alone. You know what I mean? You need like a people, excuse me, like you need combined forces to come together, excuse me, to create this big structure. And that's not going to happen with just one person. That's going to take combined efforts, combined forces, and that's going to take a lot of effort and people that can think for themselves to come together to create this thing, right? And so like if we don't come together and do that, these results are not going to happen. And so for you, remember that, you know, maybe in your own way, in your own life, remember, how can not doing it alone support you? How can it be easier? Right? You got to remember that somebody already has what you want, which is the third thing I want to share with you in this video. And remember that somebody has already went through the mistakes that you are or will go through. So why go through the hassle? Why waste the time and go through all these problems in your life over and over and over and repeat things that they've probably already experienced when you can just simply ask them? Don't pretend like you have it, like you know the truth, when you can just ask for help. You know, if you don't know, then it's important, I think, to remember and to reside in that level of not knowing. And I'm not saying to not take responsibility, excuse me, for where you can be better. But just remember that sometimes it's okay to, you know, ask for help and to do that, and to admit that you don't know certain times where to do things and how things are going to play. And with that, I conclude this